Yes, he's done a good thing for the Suns, but right now they're in an infinitely worse place than when Mat Ishbia took over, and we're going to go over every notable transaction that got us here. This is a chart of every Suns player since the 2022 season when Mat Ishbia took over. It's ranked by win shares, and it's going to be very helpful in determining where we are now. On February 7th, 2023, the Suns were 30-26, and Mat Ishbia took over the Phoenix Suns. 2 days later, everything started. They traded Dario Saric to the Thunder for Darius Bazley, who ended up playing 7 games for the Suns with 0.1 win shares. And then the big one. They traded for Kevin Durant, which was the trendy thing to do at the time. They traded away Macleod Bridges and Cameron Johnson, who we affectionately referred to as the Twins, in an effort to acquire Kevin Durant and the riches that come with him. In this deal, they also traded 5 first-round picks. They traded 5 first-round picks and 2 formidable wings for Kevin Durant, and TJ Warren, but he had a very minimal impact in his time back. Macleod and Cam Johnson were revered in Phoenix. I don't think we've ever really recovered from that hole, because we had built that team and then it was just washed away like that, and now moving on. They signed Terrence Ross. So in KD's home debut, he famously slipped and twisted his ankle, which resulted in him only playing 8 games in the regular season before going to the playoffs. They beat the Clippers in the first round and then lost to the Nuggets in the second. And then 2 days later, they fired Monty Williams. I get it. I get why they did that. I think Monty was a good coach. Now his legacy's kind of just destroyed. But he was great for the first 2 or 3 years in Phoenix. After that, it was kind of tough to tolerate how he ran the team. But this was just the beginning. Also, one of the first things he did as an owner was make all of the games free across all of Arizona. I commend Mat Ishbia for doing this. I do think that he is an owner for the fans, although he makes some rash decisions, which we will go over later, but I think that he does want to give a good experience to the fans. I will give him that. So heading into the draft, they had just traded for Kevin Durant. They had made it to the second round, but lost pretty decisively to a stacked Nuggets team. And now they only have their second round pick, which they spend on some guy named Toumani Camara out of Dayton. More on him later. The next day, the biggest news of the offseason dropped. It's Brad Beal time. So let me just read this out. As part of a 3-team trade, the Phoenix Suns traded Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, cash, a 2024 first-round pick, a 2024 second-round pick, a 2025 second-round pick, a 2026 first-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick, a 2027 second-round pick, a 2028 first-round draft pick, a 2030 first-round draft pick, and a 2030 second-round draft pick to the Washington Wizards. And the Washington Wizards traded Bradley Beal, Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd to the Phoenix Suns. In total, the Suns traded Landry Shamet and CP3, along with 4 first-rounders and 5 second-rounders, for the right to have Bradley Beal play basketball on their team. Now, I bring a unique perspective into this. I am a rare breed. I am both a Washington Wizards fan and a Phoenix Suns fan. Now, there's not many of us. We are the few and the proud, but we persist. We survive. So I can tell you, I watched Bradley Beal for 10 years in Washington. Since John Wall went down in 2017-18, Bradley Beal's been the guy. He's been the guy who's been taking all of the shots in Washington, and the owner, Ted Leonsis, is just fine with, they were just fine for 3 or 4 years right there in just having the 8th to 10th overall pick every single year, which is fine, I guess, for your bottom line, but as a fan of the team, it's just horrible. They just stagnated right at the mediocre level and never went above or below. So they decided to blow it up, and they decided to shop Bradley Beal, who was very happy in Washington, taking 20 shots a game, making $50 million a year with a no-trade clause. He was the man. They gave him a home deal. They gave him, oh my goodness, the amount of money that they gave him, it's ridiculous with a no-trade clause. He was having fun. And Washington says they're finally done being stagnant, and they get rid of him. But I don't know, for the love of God, why Mat Ishbia would think that Bradley Beal is the answer to the Phoenix Suns. 1, $50 million. 2, Bradley Beal is Devin Booker, but a little older and doesn't play as much defense. And he's a little less explosive. And they're getting paid about the same amount of money. Why would the guy who was just playing in Washington, taking 20 shots a game, suddenly just be a good third option. He doesn't play any defense. I just don't understand why they would do that. And they traded 4 first-round picks and 5 second-round picks for the ability to have him play for the team. Jordan Goodwin was he was off the team very quickly. He's now back with the Suns right now in 2025, which doesn't make sense. Isaiah Todd was also traded very shortly after this. It never made sense. And as a guy who watched both the Wizards and the Suns for a long time, I could see this coming. It was like watching a car crash. Like, there was no reason that it should have worked, honestly. And he became a villain in that second year. Like, it was too bad, because I think he's a good guy, and they ended up waiving him. We'll get to that a lot later. Yeah, anyway, Bradley Beal trade that's one of the worst trades in history, and it's crippling us right now, which we'll get to the draft pick situation later again, because it's just paltry. If you're enjoying the video, I figured I'd ask if you consider leaving a like. Yeah. It really helps the video and helps the content grow. Yeah, so anyway, we start a new season, the 23-24. We hire Frank Vogel. In the offseason, we can only sign what I affectionately call the Goon Squad, because we now have 3 guys who are paying $50 million a year. Metu, Yuto Watanabe, Kerebets Diop, and Drew Eubanks. The first 3 all accounted for about 3 win shares and about 80 games. They were all traded at the deadline. They were all washes to bad deals. Drew Eubanks actually played the whole season. He ended up with 3.1 win shares the entire year. Bol was also signed during this time, and he played 79 games across 2 seasons, accounting for 2.5 win shares. I don't know whether he'll work out with another team. The Suns might have ruined that chance. I will give Mat Ishbia credit in that he re-signed Damian Lee and Josh Okogie. Unfortunately, Lee had a meniscus tear in training camp that kept him out the entire year and most of the next season too. But Okogie was pretty good in the time that, they needed him. He was a starter most of the time. I liked him, at least. He didn't account for a ton, but I liked him. A month before the season, Deandre Ayton, obviously, this is the time when they still had Deandre Ayton. He was not happy there, obviously, so they traded him and Toumani Camara, who just signed an extension with the Trailblazers. And Portland sent back Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Keon Johnson was waived before he played a game. Nasir Little accounted for 0.7 win shares in 45 games. And Nurkic... What can I say about Nurkic? He did what he was asked to do for the first season at least. 6.2 win shares and 101 total games over a season and a half before they traded him to the Hornets. We'll get to that later. So basically the trade deadline can be equated to the Goon Squad being sent elsewhere and the Suns bringing in Royce O'Neal, who is still on the team today. Going to the playoffs, they were swept by the T-Wolves and they fired their coach. So heading into the 24-25 offseason, things were looking kind of bleak. They had mortgaged their future in getting Durant and Beal, and now they had to work with what they had. Like that's what they had to do. So going into the draft, they didn't have a ton. They kind of had to maneuver. So they had the 22nd pick, which they spent on Deron Holmes II, which they parlayed that into a trade for Ryan Dunn, which, hey, pat on the back to Mat Ishbia and co for this, because Ryan Dunn has ended up being a very valuable piece to the Suns' offense and defense, mostly defense. But no, he should be on the team for the foreseeable future, and I anticipate that he will be. Good job, Mat Ishbia. That's the first time I've said that in an actual basketball-related sense. Oh, man. Oh, also, they traded for Oso Ighodaro for a second rounder, which ended up being good. He started opening day this year, so I love Oso, but I don't know how that happened. They also kept Bol around, which we talked about earlier. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with him. They also signed Mason Plumlee, who played 74 games, 3.7 win shares, which was good because Nurkic was out for a lot of the season. He ended up starting a little bit. Monte Morris as well. He didn't really play that much. 45 games played, 0.8. So none of those really stood out at all. Mason Plumlee was fun when he was on the court. There were a few trades here. The Suns had a love affair with the Hornets for a second. It was strange. Also, they signed Colin Gillespie in the 2024 offseason, which looks like a pretty good signing. Point guard out of Villanova. He's looking like the backup point guard this year after being on the G League team most of last year. Yeah, everybody knows how the Suns season last year went, so let's just get into the trades that they did to try to salvage the season. So on the 15th of January, they traded Josh Okogie and 3 second rounders for their backup center, Nick Richards. This honestly didn't have a huge effect on the season going forward. He's still on the team. Then 2 weeks later, Jusuf Nurkic was having his issues, needed to get out of town, so they sent him to Charlotte for Cody Martin and Micic, who, guess what? They traded back to Charlotte for Mark Williams. So now they have the Charlotte Hornets center rotation from last year on their team. They traded for the Charlotte Hornets center rotation going forward this year. So we're gonna see how that turns out. I mean, I wish I could give that a grade, but that just doesn't sound good. Trading any position with the Hornets, I don't think you want to do any of that. All right, we're about to get into another big one. So yeah, going into the 2025 draft, they didn't really have any picks. So they did something funny. There was a pick that they sent out in the Kevin Durant trade way back when, got sent to the Brooklyn Nets. Somehow that ended up back with the Houston Rockets. And so the Rockets traded with the Suns to give the Suns back their original pick, which was the 10th pick. And they spent that 10th pick on Kaman Malawak, who is now the 3rd or 4th center on the rotation because they traded for the Charlotte Hornets center rotation. It doesn't make sense, but we're going to see how that ends up. I think Malawak is going to be really good, but now he has 2 different guys who are theoretically in his way. At least Mark Williams is, and apparently Oso Ighodaro is, because Oso started this. Yeah, so we all knew Kevin Durant was going to get traded, but I didn't think it was going to be a 7-team trade. I'm just going to read this verbatim. The Suns traded Kevin Durant to the Rockets. The Suns traded Alex Tuhey to the Golden State Warriors. The Houston Rockets traded Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Kaman Malawak, a 2026 second-round draft pick, and a 2032 second-round draft pick to the Phoenix Suns. And there's a whole other... I'm not even going to go over all the other 5 teams involved in this. But, I mean, this is just such a wet fart to go out on, is to pick up Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green and end up with a pick that you would have had, that you traded away 3 years ago, that you would have had anyway because you weren't that good last season with the recipe of having 3 $50 million men. Oh, here's the other big one. 10 days later, they waived Bradley Beal. Anyway, they signed Jared Butler, who was a Wizard. He scored 35 points in a preseason game, and then they cut him the next day. Going forward, so the Suns opening day roster, the Suns opening day lineup this year was Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn, and Oso Ighodaro. So now that we've gone over all of those big deals, I'm just going to briefly go over and give them a grade. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and 5 first rounders for Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. I'll give that a C. You know what? That might be generous. I think that's really generous, but I'm going to give it a C-, actually. C-. Picking Toumani Camara with the 52nd pick, that's an A. Trading him away in the Ayton deal is an F. Chris Paul and Landry Shamet and 4 first-round picks and 5 second-round picks for Bradley Beal, and Jordan Goodwin, and Isaiah Todd. F. Ayton, Toumani for Nurkic, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. That's a D, because Ayton needed to leave. But no, you know what? D+. Royce O'Neal coming to Phoenix and the Goon Squad getting traded. I'll give that a B-. Royce has been decent. He's done what he's been asked to do. Trading for Ryan Dunn. A. That is a great deal. Trading for Oso Ighodaro. I'll give that a solid B+ right now. He's looking decent. He looks like he could be a good role player, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. Josh Okogie for Nick Richards. Josh Okogie and 3 second-round picks for Nick Richards. D. Why? Nurkic to Charlotte for Cody Martin and Micic. Wash. I don't even know what to grade that, because Cody Martin barely played. Micic might have played 3 times. Yeah, Micic and a first-rounder back to Charlotte for Mark Williams. We'll see what Mark Williams ends up being. I wrote it down earlier. He's only played 43% of his available games in his career. And that's 4 seasons. That's ridiculous. He's never available. And but he's 24, which is ridiculous for he's played 4 seasons, 2 technically, but he's 24. We'll see how that ends up being. I think for what they gave up, it could be really valuable. The Durant trade, Durant for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the Kaman Malawak pick, which is their original pick. you know what? I think for what they got, for what he was worth, for what a 37-year-old, 37-ish Kevin Durant is worth, knowing that he was going to be out, I think it's a B, because Dylan Brooks will be Dylan Brooks. I think he'll be fine. Jalen Green may not pan out, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, Mat Ishbia has made a lot of mistakes in his first 3 years. He has an itchy trigger finger. I mean, 2 days into his ownership, 2 of the homegrown guys for Kevin Durant, and that ended up not working. He took huge swings, and he missed on most of them. Like the Ryan Dunn trade, I'll give him props for, but everything else was not. He went for the flashy route, but he had Drew Eubanks playing 78 games in crucial roles and expected to win. No offense to Drew Eubanks, but yeah. So let's go over their future now. Just what the future of the Phoenix Suns draft is going to look like. Oh boy, I wrote this down earlier and I wanted to cry. So 2026 draft, they own 1 second-round draft pick. 2027, they have a heavily swapped first-round pick. That's it. 2028, they have a heavily swapped first-round draft pick. That's it. 2029, they just have a second-rounder. 2030, they have a heavily swapped first-round pick. And in 2031, which is 6 years from now, 5 seasons about, they don't have any. They don't have any draft picks for the 2031 season. Are those guys, are they high schoolers? No. Yeah, they'd be like 8th graders. They don't even have the ability to draft the 8th graders. There's no reason in scouting them at the moment. So they mortgaged their future on Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, paid them $200 million over 2 seasons, roughly, and they suck. And they're going to suck. And for the first time in a while, my Washington Wizards look like they have a brighter future than the Suns. So any Suns fans want to jump over to the Wizards fandom, have a team in the East, you got a lot of young talent over there, which the Suns just aren't going to have for the next 5 years because they don't have the draft capital. They're going to have to make it, but what are they going to make it out of? They're not going to be able to get a draft in the first, or a pick in the first 15 picks. They're just not going to be able to. So, yeah, it's a bleak future. Oh man, did I miss anything? Yes, actually, I missed a good thing about Mat Ishbia. So, in 2024, the Suns introduced a value menu, and oh my god, it is so nice. They do it at Mercury games too. It's a really good, the $2 hot dogs. Oh my, the hot dogs at the Suns games put the D-backs dogs to shame, and they're more expensive. One Suns dog is worth 2 D-backs dogs easy, and it's higher quality meat. It's ridiculous. So yeah, props to caring for the fans, making the games free, adding a value menu. The tickets were ridiculously expensive for the past 2 years because they were paying 3 guys $150 million. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen for the next 5 or 6 years for the Suns. I don't know if there is a future. Maybe I'll look back on this video in 5 years and say, hey, we had a good playoff run that one in 2028. We had a scrappy underdog team. You know what would have been cooler? Having another run with a team that was built through the draft and players that weren't traded for and yanked around, like Macleod Bridges and Cam Johnson, but now we're probably never going to see those guys again because they have homes elsewhere. Yeah, we'll see what Mat Ishbia's got going on.